When I heard about Bitcoin in 2011, it was a leap beyond what I was thinking about, because the all the virtual currencies and digital currencies up until then were centralized to some degree. All market making, all federal banks, all political considerations regarding money are all centralized. So the thing about Bitcoin that breaks it from everything else is that it's decentralized. And how do you create that decentralized network? And I think it's interesting because, again, getting back to Buckminster Fuller, a lot of his writings, from you look through it through a political lens, you would say this is not capitalism. This is something else. This is maybe the opposite of capitalism, and yet the result are tools that enable those who could call themselves capitalists to do fantastic work as capitalists. But there are a lot of elements to this post-internet age. Like we have the free open source software movement. You have Linux, which is free, essentially free software. You have Richard Stallman was big, and his idea of free, unlicensed software. The Lawrence Lessig's work with the Creative Commons license, which is outside of the trademark and patent system. And during the early part of the internet age, there was this tremendous, and you would appreciate this, and you were there as well. You had the work of those who considered the internet to be really a revisitation of the 1960s and the free love movement, and those who were taking drugs and hallucinating, Timothy Leary, and those folks. There was a moment in the internet's history before it became completely corporatized. Where there was this feeling of freedom of expression that was going to be this huge movement. And our friend who wrote the Declaration of Independence for the Internet, I'm looking at Stacy now. Yeah, John Perry Barlow. He was incredibly huge, at that time. And then the internet became completely corporatized. And it wasn't until Bitcoin came around that we had a new chapter in this idea of distribution and decentralization and individual empowerment and individual journeys. And I always compare Bitcoin to shamanism and kind of spiritualism and things like this, where people have the freedom to delve into their own spiritual journeys because they have unconfiscatable money that's never debasing in value, so they have no worries. In other words, you achieve individual sovereignty, and you can just pursue spirituality. And I think that's where Bitcoin is heading. I think everyone ultimately achieves individual sovereignty. The whole idea of wealth changes dramatically itself. I mean, this would be a Buckminster Fuller idea, that his idea of wealth was very, very radically different than what most people consider to be wealth. So if you take that and if Bitcoin is the coin of his thinking, and then what do you have? If you had everyone thinking like Buckminster Fuller, the world would be a dramatically and drastically different place. And with Bitcoin, we can get to that place, and we are getting to that place, and it is happening right now, Robert.
And Fuller really changed my life. It changed Kim's life. And he predicted Bitcoin, he predicted YouTube, he predicted the internet, because he was a futurist. But Critical Path here is an important book, Max, today, because it's pretty precarious today. And
I'll give you an interesting exercise you can do, Robert, is that I have that book. I think I had to buy the book 4 or 5 times because, you move and you lose stuff. And I'm like, where's my Critical Path? I think I'm up to my 5th copy. But it actually also works as a book of prophecy, like you might use the I Ching. With the I Ching, you can construct a mandala or a 6-sided symbol, and then you consult the book, and it gives you prophetic insights into your future. And it's the whole Asian and Eastern kind of philosophy around this that's alien to most Western thoughts. But anyway, there it is. So with the Critical Path, you can randomly open the book to any page and put your finger down and read what's on there. And it works just like the I Ching. It's a book of prophecy into your personal journey as well. That's the amazing thing about the book. People who read it for the first time, they say, this is actually a hard book to read because he does use his phrases like angular redundancy, right? So he makes up phrases or he creates phrases. He neologistically, he creates these interesting phrases all the time, and they're completely alien to your ears. And you're like, where am I? What's going on? Why is this man saying this? Right? So because he's breaking up your conscious thinking, and he's probing you. And so you're bringing stuff out, and so that's the stuff you need to look at to know who you are, and therefore where you're going.
Okay, so Max is saying he was critical path of humanity, and then he came out with Grunge of Giants, which was the Fed, or beyond the Fed. Grunge was the people that controlled the Fed, and here we are today. He predicted Bitcoin, he predicted YouTube, and so I want to ask, Kim, any comments on that? Because why we started the company was to not be a victim of the future. He said, we are to be the architects of the future, not as victims. Yeah. And so with that, we formed the Rich Dad Company to do what God wanted done, which was educate.
Yes, and so my question, that's a great line, because we're designed to be architects of the future, not victims. And so my question to Max is, how do we, from where we are today, become and be those architects of the future, because the future is looking rather chaotic.
Well, I'll tell you, one thing anyone and everyone can do is to find a soulmate, fall in love. I mean, you two are obviously been around a long time. You are in love. I've got Stacy. And being in a marriage and being in love is one of the most rewarding things anyone can do. And it tells you about yourself in a way that you could never find out any other way. And that is part of going into the future. So for a lot of people out there who are not with a significant other and they're having trouble finding a significant other, then the way to do that is to simply make yourself attractive. And you make yourself attractive by cutting out all of the shit habits that you might be involved with and just doing good habits and taking care of yourself, and you will find a partner. And once you find a partner, you're ready for life. Thank you.
Any comments, Kim?
No, that was not the answer I was expecting. I was thinking Bitcoin, economy, money, the Fed.
Well, I think everybody is looking for the magic key, but the magic key is already, we know from as humans what the magic key is. The magic key is love. Yeah. And the way to express love is with another human being. Right. And so partner up and go forward into this mysterious cosmic voyage on spaceship Earth.
So, when like I said, 83, Fuller passed away in 84. Was 84, Kim, we meet? 83? 84. And it was only because I said, I'm not going to be in rock and roll anymore. I'm not going to work for money. See, in 1927, Fuller stopped working for money. And he said, I would only do what God wants done. And so I said, well, if it worked for him, he called it guinea pig B. I think I'll try that too. And I met Kim and she says, well, let's try it. And we stopped working for money back in 1984. It's been one hell of a ride, huh, Kim?
It's been a hell of a ride, but magic happens when you commit to things like that.